Alrighty, good evening, my friends. Hello, hello. How's it going? Good evening, good evening. Let's see who is here. Shoney's, hello. Randolph the Grey, hello. Hubert, thank you so much for the 29. Buh, hello, hello. Spock, I can actually catch a lightning stream. I know, I don't run on a very specific schedule, but I tend to do my streams on the evenings. So, kind of just depends on which day ends up being. Conan, hola. William, hello, hello. Villanu or Villanu, hello. Fede, hola. Also, I'm so happy for you, Spock, that you finally finished Avatar: The Last Airbender. Such a good show. I actually watched it for the first time fully fairly recently, right? Like it's been like last 3 years? 2 years? 2 years? First, yeah, I think last year. No, it's like 2 years ago now, I think. Anyway, yeah. I actually hadn't gone through the full, the full animated series. And obviously, as everyone should, get obsessed. And we even went to the in concert, the Avatar: Last Airbender concert after that. So it was very magical. It was great. So the Adept, hello. Kevin, evening. I hear, hello. Gorkas Willem, buenas noches. Masto, oh Mr. Masto, how are you, man? Are you doing any casting today, or are you just chilling? Everyone should watch Avatar. That's good writing. Yeah. I did end up watching Korra after that. I also think it was pretty good. Obviously there are conflicting views on what people like. Obviously, I mean, it's different. It's a different show. But nonetheless, a good sequel, so to speak, to the original series. But I also enjoyed it a lot. So, yeah. Did the JNV2 OG come with an unfinished brass weight or coated? I thought it has a brass piece, and then it has the steel brush Toblerone. That's a steel piece in the back. And then the back plate is stainless steel, and then yeah, I think the brass is sandblasted. I'm not sure. I think it might be clear coated lightly, so I think it does tarnish if you touch it like a lot. So I believe it does tarnish if you like do. I mean, even most clear coated brass, like if you do handle it a lot, it will eventually get through and tarnish. I didn't handle mine that much, like the brass piece itself with my hand, so I don't have much tarnish on mine. But I think I've seen some people with some tarnish on their brass. Although, like, I can't name the people because I don't remember. It's like pictures over the years sort of thing. So, can't really tell you exactly who or when it was. But, I do believe it's clear, might be clear coated slightly. Because it was fairly, like it didn't, so, like, completely raw brass, well, actually, it kind of depends. It depends on how they treat it in the factory. In the sense that, like, if it's clean, like after they blast and it's all very clean, like no remnants of grease here and there, and it doesn't like splatter or like doesn't like get on there, even like raw brass won't immediately tarnish. The finger oils definitely trigger that much more quickly, I would say, compared to like just general exposure to moisture and things like that. So given that I've seen a lot of JMV2s with pretty untarnished weights, I'm gonna make the educated guess that it's probably coated lightly. But if you do touch it and like handle it a lot, then it will tarnish. Yeah. But that, generally speaking, for a lot of the brass stuff out there, that's kind of how it was back in the day too. Like, clear coating the brass was not as common as it is now. It definitely became more of a common practice after people started kind of saying like, I hate the look of the patina. And so makers and designers were like, okay, well, we'll have the factory try to clear coat it or something like that. Watching while I clean the shop. Just finished the next colorway. Got the leak posted on my Discord. Oh, okay. I better be more caught up on the Masto leaks over here. But I'm sure I'll see it soon enough on a sale. Anyway. So for tonight's build, we are building this, so this is the Zoom64. It was sent in a box, obviously, and it came with this, you know, very obviously Tiffany & Co. sort of theme bag and box. Like, the color is very, like, strikingly Tiffany, which is cool. Like, presentation-wise, I think it's pretty neat. That said, they're not going for that specific look or aesthetic. It's just, I think it's just like a little fancy packaging sort of thing. But yeah. So let's see. So they sent out this carbon fiber plate, which I was just looking at earlier. There might be another plate on the inside of the case. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the case actually, so I only know what color it is, I think, because they just like, I remember them sending me a message when they were like mailing stuff out. But so there is this carbon fiber plate, which is kind of hard to take out because of the little tabs that are getting stuck on the zipper of the bag. There we go. Gosh. Okay, there we go. And looks like these are the screws for hot swap stuff. Take that out of there. What's the Pantone? I have no idea. Alright, and then the PCB is a hot swap PCB. So for those who are not as so for those who might not be as aware about the 64 key layout, so the 64 key layout is kind of like a variant of a regular 60% that isn't quite standard ANSI. It's essentially standard ANSI in some ways. Like, actually, this one is universal. It even has support for ISO stabs. But instead of the regular 225U ANSI left shift, it actually uses a 2U left shift, because by translating everything 0.25U to the left, you essentially get an extra key here. And they instead opt for this all 1U sort of bottom portion here, which gives them the ability to do arrow clusters as well as an extra key on this side. So initially this layout was made to enable typing in I guess like additional things, specifically like for Chinese typing. Like, I know like a lot of people will type like, will like use pinyin and things like that, but basically having that extra key is helpful. And so or having a dedicated arrow cluster, like that's a personal preference thing, but basically it adds 2 keys over here. So the typical 60% gives you 62 keys, so now it's 64. So that's a 64 key layout, which is kind of a little variant of that. Definitely very uncommon and certainly much less used like worldwide, I would argue. But for the people who are really looking for a 60% with an arrow cluster, the 64 key layout is like an option. That said, it is very it's very uncommon. There's going to be a lot of key sets that actually don't support the layout, because the 2U shift is kind of more of a rarity. So sometimes your mileage may vary when it comes to key set keycap support. So compatibility. It's like an RC1. Yeah. It's kind of like that. Like the is it the Leopold RC1? Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of like that. Looks like it says pour-on dampener kit, so we get some pour-on over here. Yep, case foam. Actually, not pour-on. This is the cork kit. So we get some cork lined kit for the switches, for the plate, and oh, okay, there is some Poron here for the case foam as well. So does it fit shift keys to the left? Yeah, so there will be a 2 unit size left shift. And then on the right side, you'll get maybe like, you can have a 1U right shift or an arrow cluster with an extra key. So we'll like try to, you know, deck it out with keycaps, and you'll kind of see what that looks like. And if you look up the Zoom64, you're actually gonna see a lot of the renders or photos of their units already made, right? With that layout. So you can see some examples on there too. All right, so this is just a standard box. It is in the kind of like Tiffany blue colored scheme with that same texture, sort of like leathery texture, right? And then, but inside is just a keyboard bag. So it is, you know, pretty standard bag. I mean, box rather over here. We have our after sales service card, which is just like FAQ and like little notes. This is, I think, the manual for like the different shortcuts on the PCB. They include all the Meletrix and the all the Meletrix and Wuche Studio stuff has this, if I recall correctly. All right, so, but you know, this box can be used like a little drawer, I guess, if you will, if you really want to recycle this. So it's kind of nifty, nice and colored, Tiffany colored, I guess. Box, since this is, you know, pretty standalone. Is this a rerun of another Zoom TKL? No. So the Zoom64 is 60%. So we have a cable included, USB-C to A. What is this? Is this, maybe this is, looks like, oh, okay, so it's kit components. So we have O-rings for mounting, we have ribbon cables, maybe extras, and silica gel mount, so the little button silica pieces for the plate. As well for mounting. And then in this one there is also a screwdriver, which, you know, I can show you what it looks like, but I'm probably not going to use it myself. But it's a screwdriver with the little silicone handle and the bit. So for now I'll just keep it closed since I have my own screwdrivers. Oh wow, a different zoom layout. Yeah. Oh, purple. Okay, so right. So we got the violet unit here. I think that's the violet unit. I think I saw it on the list of colors. They have a lot of colors, as a lot of the Meletrix and Zoom offerings tend to go. They have quite a lot of color offerings. So let's take a look here. I'll take this piece out. What was this? Just anti-conductive pad. All right, and a very nice and vibrant purple case, top case and bottom sort of cover, and then we have 4 bump-ons here at the bottom, 2 round ones like this, very interesting, and then 2 like large dense pilled ones like this, also custom made from what it seems to me, and a diffuser, I think, that goes all the way around, which is kind of interesting. Does the PCB support that actually? Or is there like a separate deal over here? Maybe it is. Is it a diffuser? I need to look at the inside to know that. Maybe it is a diffuser. It appears to be. We have our USB port in the middle. We have a kind of like a neon green badge over here, which houses a horizontal knob. So there is a knob over here as well. And for the case fastening, we have our ball catch system. So no screws involved for fastening the case. Okay, I use 50s and 60s, so I'm intrigued. 50s, interesting. What? Give me some example of the 50s that you use. 60s are easy to know, but we also have a wireless receiver for those people who like the Meletrix wireless stuff. We have a wireless receiver. This is that like little pyramid shaped one that connects to a cable, like this. Just kind of lights up when you plug it in, and acts as a wireless receiver for the board. Pretty nifty. And then, so I have some provided switches. These are the BigLucky linears. These are, let's say, I believe these are 55 gram. But yeah, 55 gram long pole linears from Uche Studio. And we have these Meletrix branded. I think these are essentially the same as the Uche Studio stabs, screw-in stabs. So we got exactly 4 stabs provided. Okay, nifty. I have to foam these up then. We'll see. Well, we have a non-flex cut PCB as well, so we'll see. We'll see. Go stupid stabs. Yeah. Okay, so let's undo this case to take a look. So there's our top piece. It's a very vibrant purple piece. And then you have ball catch for 4 different places. You have this pogo pin connector for the knob itself. The knob connects to a, pad daughter board here, which has a ribbon cable that's connected to something underneath. And then we have our main DB right here. That's our main connector. And then, so if you think of the PCB over here, I guess I would need, actually these are just extras then. So I would just need the main connector for our PCB, and they would just kind of connect in from this side into the PCB. So that's the way to test it. So actually, probably wouldn't mind testing it right now just to check that it works. Oh, the PCB lit up on its own, so I assume there are some batteries underneath here. So let's see. Let's grab a cable. And we have some bright lighting over here. And then I was right, yeah, so this is a diffuser. It is a little too bright right now for me to actually show you what that looks like. Maybe I'll show you by turning the light off here briefly. But you can see that. There's our underglow. And yeah, so pretty bright for the top side, but a little darker right now on the underside. I assume It's partially because the setting is a little bit on the low side, but we'll see how bright it can get. Okay, so PCB seems good. Okay. Is it giving the light from the PCB underglow? Yeah, so this is lit up by, I assume there is a PCB under here, so we would have to undo some of these screws to show that. I can do that actually. So let's see here. I'm assuming some of these screws are put together to enclose some of those boards and parts. And I'm assuming there's some battery in there as well. I'm assuming this one is connected to the battery compartments. Okay, yep, that was right. And so let me, okay, how do I show this? So here is our diffuser. That's the acrylic sort of diffuser, frosted diffuser here. And there is a little compartment for the battery to also fit. And that's basically the bottom plate. And let me flip this over and let me be sure that I don't lose these screws over here. So on the underside, you have a circuit of in series RGB LEDs. So there is essentially there is a daughter board in this oval shape that is powered by this switching PCB here, and this PCB is connected in turn to, so it's connected to, you have your battery over here. You have your ribbon cable that connects directly to the USB-C daughter board over here. This one is connected to our, track, oval sort of track of LEDs, and then this last small one is then connected to the knob. So this one, when it makes contact with the pogo pins, you'll get the knob working. So yeah, that's sort of the gist of that. Of this one. Battery pack seems to be 3000 milliamp hours at 3.7 volts. So actually quite a large battery. 3000 milliamp hours is pretty sizable. So this would probably last a decent while. Obviously depends on whether you keep the lights on or not. So there's 4 PCBs: the keyboard, USB underglow, and the knob. Yes, that's correct. And this relay PCB that does sort of a lot of that connects everything together essentially. So yeah, but pretty nice. It's so these I assume are already going to be installed on each of the cases when these are ready to go. But it just kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like on the inside. So let's go ahead and put this back. So this track just kind of falls right into place. And then just flip that over. And then we can just put our screws back. Had a lot of relays. Yeah. Well, I think the design itself is it's not that complex in terms of how they did it, because it wouldn't be too hard to isolate where things fail when things don't, like if things were to be to need troubleshooting. Like it's fairly easy to isolate the problem when you know that power is separate from the knob and it's separate from the LEDs. So at least it's not all in one board. So it can be a little bit easier to troubleshoot that as far as that's concerned. And it is true that at least ribbon cables can be a little bit annoying in terms of putting on, but they are cheap and easy to source. So So there's also that. But that said, I think I don't know too much about aftermarket or rather like aftercare sort of support for, or after sale support for Meletrix. I haven't experienced it myself much, but I suppose they can also help if you're having like big issues. So yeah. Have you caught the cold or flu going around? Finally got better after 2 weeks. Ooh, that's awful, dude. No, I have not caught the flu, knock on wood. I would really not like to. Yeah. I did get my flu shots and as well as my COVID booster this year, so I hopefully, knock on wood once again, don't catch anything. So let's talk a little bit about the case. The case does come with some nice little improvements overall. It uses a ball catch system, and we have these little silicone socks sort of that go on the case. Essentially a pre-installed force brake for the corners, and then there's 2 pads in the middle here already installed with adhesive. Pretty standard kind of like long rectangular bump on size, but they're already pre-installed, and they essentially provide that like force brake for a ball catch mount case. So just gonna put the case back for now. I have worked with them extensively in the Zoom64 V3. That tailor was a nightmare, and my screen came broken. Oh, I'm sorry to hear. I see. The curved CNC will work on the bottom though. Beauty. I agree. This is quite nice. Like this very subtle curvature here is very well done. You know, in terms of like quality of like machining, anodizing, and things like that, I've personally had pretty good like, you know, outcomes, and good, like, I've seen units have pretty good finishes. I don't know how, like, you know, if this speaks for any of like their coated units, but in this case these are the anodized ones, and at least for the anodized ones, these have looked pretty good. Of course, when it comes to prototypes versus production, this can vary quite a lot. You know, prototypes can be quite near perfect because you're only producing a few, but then when it comes to mass production, this can you know, vary quite a lot. And so you know, always I would suggest, you know, it's always good to do some research before you purchase anything, but at least for the prototypes, they've seen okay, but I think that's kind of expected, right? You see a little blemish on the case here, but I think it's pretty minor. Okay. All right, so since the layout is fairly fixed, let's start with building up the case, the board for now. So I'm just gonna put this here for now. These are just little anti-static or anti-conducting pads, I assume. Sure, this one I think goes in the middle of the build. I'll just leave this inside here for now. Don't think I'll need it. The question is, do we want to use foam or not today? That's my first question. And hopefully you guys don't mind that I use these Uche Studio switches. I've never tried them. They're a BigLucky line of switches. I've heard actually pretty good things about them, like especially the clickies, but I did try these very briefly when I was doing, I think, a few other builds before from them. But it was very, very brief. I don't think I tried the linears extensively, so I actually don't know, but the clickies were pretty nice. And the tactiles also felt pretty good. But they say that they put in quite a bit of engineering work into this, into these switches, where you have sort of this very like multifaceted stem. It's like this circular cylinder stem, and then, but it's actually like multifaceted. It's like it's sort of like I don't know how many faces, but there's like maybe 12 or 16 faces on this, right? I can see these individual faces reflect, but it's like a very nicely shaped cylinder sort of. But very free of wobble from what I can tell. So it feels nice and sturdy for a Switch, and it also feels pretty smooth. Sounds pretty nice for a long pull. So, yeah. I don't do long pole builds that often, but why not do it today? So let's try it out. I really like these switches. Oh yeah, that's good. They kept sending taillights until I got one that worked. Oh well, that's good. At least, I mean, well, it was the process was a nightmare, but hopefully it ended up working. I feel like wobble should not be that big of a deal for MX. It typically isn't, in my opinion. I think I've seen switches that do have some wobble, but it's really not bad. Not that bad. I mean, some people are sensitive to wobble in the sense that they're kind of doing this a lot, like kind of like moving their hands on the keys, and they feel that. But I don't, so I'm not that sensitive to this kind of stuff. Oh, these are screw-ins. Okay. So let's go ahead and actually, I was gonna put this back here. Put this case over here for now, and up. Okay, let's lube these up. 205. Long pull, I guess I'm compensating. I mean, you just like the sound of long pull, that's it. I think they sound nice. I personally do, like, I personally don't like super love long pull switches just because the shortened travel does, like, I guess more sensitive to it, so I personally don't love it. I actually don't mind, like, full travel switches. And then long pull switches, it kind of depends. I've seen some like 3.7 millimeters instead of 4.0 that are pretty nice. 3.8, 3.7, 3.8, pretty good. But then I think around like 3.5, I start feeling the difference pretty noticeably, and so I end up not liking them nearly as much. They sound nice though, because that's what they're kind of like meant to be. Reduced travel, yucky. That's fair. I think people dislike it for the same reasons as I do sometimes. Yeah. What would Kiwi want? That's a good question. I feel like so for these cork foam pieces, I personally feel like the plate foam actually is not so detrimental to the feel and sound experience of like these builds as the pour-on ones can be. I feel like the pour-on ones do have some amount of compression in there, and they also tend to change the sound of the board pretty significantly. So I personally don't love the pour-on ones for plate foam, but for the cork ones, it's actually they've seemed pretty okay. At least in my experience trying the cork ones versus the pour-on ones, I feel like the pour-on ones do sort of like flatten the sound a lot more. They do really change sort of like the average sound of the Switch that I expect quite a lot. So it kind of has that like more typical quote unquote like thock sort of like sound that people would go for, and I'm personally not a huge fan of that. Mostly use KL BCPs in my builds. They always go to cherry reds and blacks. Oh, nice. I mean, I know a guy who will always use BCPs for modifier stuff, like longer keys, but then for alphas, for everything else, they'll be using cherry switches as well. Like even if it's like MX browns, MX clears, but they'll like do long pull switches like that for like their modifiers because they like the sound of those, like especially like on the space bar and such. But I think that trend seems to be more fairly common, I think, right? Made some cherry U4T Franken switches with cherry housings. Cherry U4T. Cherry housings and U4T stems. Oh, cool. How was that? They gave me the best of both worlds. That's pretty neat, actually. U4T and cherry. Do they fit well with one another? I'm always a little scared of how Gazoo parts tend to fit, because I thought Gazoo worked with Otemu for a while, and Otemu parts didn't have that cross compatibility as well before, but maybe now they all do, and it's all good. So if cherry housings work with U4T and stuff like that, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I remember back in the day for a lot of Gazoo's stuff, they were not quite compatible with cherry. I don't follow as much of the work as closely though, or experiment nearly as much with Franken switching as probably people would like me to do. Oh yeah, it's a long weekend for a lot of folks, hopefully. Hope you guys are enjoying a restful weekend so far. Or have some fun plans to just take it easy. Well, although I have... It really fit well. Very little scratch, so fairly smooth, but gave a tactile bump. Huh. Tactile bump. These are... Oh wait, U4Ts are tactile stems though, right? So, yeah. Found the site to buy just the stems, and Geon triple stage springs made a great tactile switch. Interesting, interesting. Sounds pretty nice, actually. Haven't had any issues. That's good. I often think like I should experiment more with Franken switches, but I know what I like, and I tend to not deviate from things that I like as much. At least, but I'm willing to try new things. That said, it's mostly laziness that stops me, I would say. For sure. Any openings for a janitor at your work? I want Monday off. Ah, oh, I'm sorry, Hubert. Franken switching is underrated. I'd love to see this part of the hobby to come back. I think so. So Franken switches are interesting, right? I think there's a pretty clear line between people who do experiment and people who publish their experiments. You know what I mean? Because not everyone who experiments with things is willing or capable time-wise or otherwise to post about it. Like, they might have findings like experiences that they're like, oh, I like this one, I didn't like this one, and I do this a lot. Like it's like oh, when things come in, I try different combinations and I find out what I like and I kind of stick to that. But it's for themselves. So I think there's a very clear difference as to who actually posts about them. And I think the latter is not many. People who do both, essentially, who experiment a lot and also talk about it in public. Whether that may be in like a public Discord server or like, you know, or like a bigger Discord server, whatever it is, right? Like, or like with friends, even if it's, but you know, basically among the enthusiast community. So I think that's part of why you'll end up with, I guess, variability in how much you end up seeing that. And I would say generally speaking, there's not many people who do both. Yeah. So it is definitely underrated for that reason. It's like there are I'm sure there are people who experiment out there with their stuff. It's just they're not all talking about it in public. I lubed some switches today. Haven't done that in a long time. Did you have a good time lubing switches? Did you multitask doing something fun? I have been lubing switches every so often, so whether it's for like a climb build or for builds that I have planned for the near future, sometimes not personal, like for like these showcases where I have to provide switches, I have to lube some to have like a stock of switches to swap through. So I'll be lubing switches every so often too. They tend to be similar in nature because it's based on what I have in inventory. And a lot of the newer stuff these days comes pretty decently pre-lube, like factory lube or whatever. So I don't end up having to lube a lot of the new stuff these days anymore. But you know, sometimes it is needed. Had a movie going on in the background. Oh, nice. Lubing is cathartic. I used to put an audiobook and mentally log out. Yeah, I tend to lube switches while I watch TV or like something, like watching something. I think my recent watch was Culinary Class Wars on Netflix. Season 2. For those who maybe follow that, but I recently watched that and it was really good. Love that show. It was really good. I don't find lubing cathartic personally. I mean, it is still like a bit of a chore, but at the same time, I don't mind it if I'm multitasking like that. Are you going to watch a new Dunk and Egg Game of Thrones series tomorrow? Probably not. First of all, I actually am a Game of Thrones pleb. Don't know too much about it, in all honesty. So, yeah, I'm not one to talk about it, to be honest. Are these the same screw? Oh, they are. Wow, these are torque screws for stabs. Wow. Okay. Fancy. Kinda feel like I should use these little non-conductive washers. My wife always gives me the side eye watching that show. Wait, why? Wait, which show? Sorry. Gotta roll out. I'm so glad I got to catch you for a while, Diego. All my best, bro. Oh, hey, okay. Take it easy, man. Thank you so much for stopping around and hanging out for a bit. It's always good to see known names around here. Bye-bye. Have a good night. We had a keyboard meetup today. Oh, sweet. Where was this? I wonder if there's any meetups in my area soon. I haven't been to the New York scene ones in a hot minute, actually. Wait, my bad. I was thinking of Food Wars. Oh, you're thinking of Shokugeki no Soma, the anime. I'm talking about the competition show on Netflix. Korean, mostly Korean chefs competing. Or at least Korean heritage, I feel, for the most part, since the show is conducted in Korean. Although, I mean, last season they had, the previous season, season 1, they had Chef Edward Lee, who, you know, doesn't really speak that much Korean, but yeah, he was speaking English like half the time. Or, yeah. But I guess technically still Korean American, though. Oh, there was a chef who was speaking mostly English also this season, but they got disqualified fairly early. Are there any worldwide famous chefs on that show? I mean, there will be like Michelin star restaurant owner chefs, yeah. But I would say like one of the people who was like there's people with a lot of experience. Like one of the people who was you know, a pretty big part in the show, like has a 57-year career as a chef, as a Chinese food cuisine chef. Like there's people like that, or like people who like worked at the in Korea, like the White House equivalent is like the Blue House, and like so people who like worked in like the presidential like cooking, or like hotels, like international hotels and things like that. And there's like one of the judges, he is an owner of a three Michelin star restaurant in Korea, but also worked at like there's like people who like have worked at like the French Laundry or like 11 Madison Park, and you know, like pretty big places, like well-known places like that, right? So yeah, there will be like very highly accomplished chefs come out too. I would say like generally all of the chefs that are like recruited for the show, like that are like invited to participate in the show, are fairly well accomplished. But the whole point of the show is that it's like culinary class wars. It's like they divide them into like what they call like white spoons and black spoons. And white spoons are like people who are like well established already in their career, and black spoons are sort of like people who are currently in the process of establishing themselves in the you know, in the cooking world, but they're there to compete for this prize, right? So they like kind of pit it, like, or rather they kind of like propose it as like this like war between the black spoons and the white spoons, but it ends up being kind of more of a free-for-all. Like some of the missions do involve like the two teams, but towards the end it essentially becomes a free-for-all. Like you're just kind of competing for your own. Yeah. Okay, let's do we put this cork thing or nah? Maybe not. Maybe let's try without. I feel like with non-flex PCB, it's probably fine to not use foam, right? Just a hunch. I feel like it'll be okay. Let's make an artisan class wars. That would be fun. What would it involve? Like, you need to design the challenges though. Like, what would it be like? Cast pass the complex colorway in a certain number of hours, sort of thing. But because it involves standardizing some part of the process and making sure that it's like producible in that amount of time. I think there needs to be a time constraint. There needs to be a challenge-based constraint too. So it could be fun, Masto. That could actually be pretty cool. I think so anyway. Wait a sec. So am I missing some screws or something here? Yeah. These came with only 4 of these, but where's the screws for the other side? Doesn't seem like enough of them. Maybe I'll forgo these. Okay, I'll forgo these. It's fine. Unless they're here. Don't see them though. Okay. I think that's fine. Resin writing challenge. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Like it could be up for interpretation sort of thing, but it could be fun. Yeah, I think that could be interesting. Okay, I have a few pieces of advice for Meletrix already. Just my personal opinion, but so cutouts like these actually do work okay for stabs, but opening it up a little extra can be helpful for the wires to, like they have the cutouts for the wires for the backspace and the enter, but for some reason didn't do it for the spacebar and the left shift, which is like an oversight. I mean, I think it'll be okay because it kind of like sits here like this. So the way this wire is rotating, I don't think it'll get in the way, but I think just for the sake of like whoever uses any other stabs or yeah, I think probably would be a good thing to open that up a little bit. I could try giving it a little open with just cut out a little opening there. I'm not sure how well I can do it. So actually, yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can cut a little small piece here. It's gonna be a little extra jank, but I want to make sure it sounds fine when the spacebar goes like that. I don't know how destructible carbon fiber is though. Gonna be as careful as I can with some of this. Where is my... I'll grab this. Okay. Need to be careful not to get this anywhere. Okay. Okay, that's opening is sufficient. Okay. Being in New York, I guess maybe DZ had Michelin places. Have you ever eaten at a Michelin star restaurant? Yes, I have. I have eaten at a few
at a couple. Not, yeah, maybe a few. Some Michelin guides, some Michelin star. Definitely, yeah, definitely being in New York, it's more common or accessible. But yeah, I've had a couple of fine dining experiences. Not too many. We don't tend to eat out like fancy fine dining stuff much. So only for like specific occasions, like it might be a birthday or like an anniversary or like stuff like that typically. But yeah, I've had a couple of experiences. Okay, gourmet. Gourmand, I guess. Gourmet, gourmand. I actually don't know which word means what. But, yeah, I mean, just like everybody else, I do like going out to eat. So we do try to, I guess, kind of open up to new experiences every so often. But it's not frequent. It's like maybe once a year, maybe not. Okay, let's see here now. Okay, that should be sufficient for the spacebar area. Okay, now let's do it here for the... Here. Okay. I feel like, when it comes to fine dining, it's kind of more about the experience rather than just the food because oftentimes I feel like like the multi-course meals, like it's filling, but sometimes like I'm like, oh, I kind of wish I had more of that. But then the courses are small because it's all about presentation and about like sort of like that like brief experience and like kind of highlighting it. Um, so yeah. So yeah, fancy meals can be nice, but sometimes I can feel a little unsatisfied from them. Okay. Sorry if I'm not looking at the chat enough. Just trying to do this job without causing any issues here. Little plate surgery. And truly just doing it out of being extra careful, or rather like, making sure that our clearances are good for the wire, even though it might not be an issue. I mean, I've experienced wires be fine for some stabs and not for others, so it kind of varies depending on the case. Might be that in their testing case it was fine. So let's see. We'll find out. A little off by slightly off.
Do you see any parallels with eating and keyboards? Like Michelin star equals expensive keyboards, budget keyboards equals $2 pizza slice? Sort of, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think almost any consumable aspect that has a like a like a like an expensive tier, so to speak, for rather similar like experiences will kind of suffer from that like that specific problem where like you are sort of getting more into the experience of something premium, but functionality wise, like like that particular plate is like it's like something that they'll do in fine dining, right, is they'll give you a deconstructed dish, like like they'll deconstruct something that's well known or like well perceived like to be delicious or whatever, and you get that experience from seeing the chef being able to deconstruct that and put it all together in front of you, and you as the diner, like you're experiencing that process, and that's the spectacle of the meal. Like it's the fact that you can taste all of these deconstructed components, and when you put them together it tastes different, but it's still the interpretation of the same plate, like whether that might be a fried rice or a steak or whatever it is, right? And so I think that's sort of what it is. Like you're there for that specific experience. You're not quite there for like you're paying for that specific experience and that specific ability of the people who are serving you to do that in front of you. But at the end of the day, like like a pizza is a pizza. So yeah. Wonder what your Michelin star keyboards are. I think it's what people perceive as premium, like the TGR or like the key code, like the OTD, like that kind of stuff that people consider to be premium. And you pay a high price knowing that what you get is essentially the same as the other one that's much cheaper, but you're paying a high price because you know that there's a name to it, right? But in terms of like an experience, like it's not like building keyboards is that complicated. It's not. It's really not. And so I don't think there's an equivalent, like a one-to-one equivalent as to a Michelin star experience like thing for keyboards. I don't think there is such a thing. Like I guess like people might argue that there might be like some complex builds out there that require more effort than usual, but is there really something that's sort of like it's like that markedly different? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I feel like most builds are fairly the same if you put them into a template. F18X, TGR, Singa, probably my Michelin equivalent. Yeah, exactly. Like that kind of stuff is what people might consider the Michelin equivalent. Hello, just realized you were streaming. Hi, Warfinger. Hi. Now I want pizza. Same. Now I want a pizza too. Hell yeah. With all these build kits on stream, I've only seen hot swaps and never any solder. Are there any kits that require soldering? I heard there are, but never seen any. Stan, so I personally, so it kind of depends. So the reason I have hot swap a lot these days for a lot of these units is either, it basically depends on who's sending it. In this case, they're sending me hot swap because it's convenient to build and unbuild. So for people to try different things and like showcase it It's just a convenience factor. But for like my own builds, or a lot of people who contact me for, you know, customer builds, right? Like for builds for themselves, they'll purchase a solderable kit, and sometimes it might be like, oh, I don't know how to solder, or like it would be nice if you did the build for me, and so I'll tend to be building solderable versions of those. Most recently, some solderable builds that I did, I think the Zoom64 from Sensei that I did had a solderable case, a solderable PCB. But yeah, there are solderable kits that I do end up doing. Like, I mean, I literally have a soldering iron next to me, so I do solder builds a lot. But for a lot of these showcase builds, it does end up, or like review units, a lot of these designers or vendors tend to send hot swap because they know it's more convenient for the people doing it. But for my personal preference, I prefer soldered. I prefer to have something that I can just commit to, because also hot swap just has the inconvenient part of, like, sometimes the switches can come off, or like, and also like layout wise, they need to have that specific layout that I want, and everything that extraneous I don't really need, and so I think soldered kind of provides just like a better commitment factor for it. Yeah. So yeah, it sort of depends. All right, so let's okay. Sounds pretty good. It's fine. Let's test it with this. Now the ultimate question for you: what's your comfort food keyboard? Like a keyboard that for me is the most comfortable to just use. HKB, Topre for sure. Specifically HKB though. Like if you tell me like real force, I would prefer an HKB over a real force by a lot. I prefer the HKB by a very, very significant factor. So yeah, HKB is my comfort sort of zone. Yeah, I think Topre is always my go-to when I want to return to something known, comfortable, and easy to work with. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's different, but that is indeed for me. What is it for you? What's your Michelin? What's your comfort? What are your preferences on these? I can't think right now, but I like to hear everyone else's picks. I see. Okay. Oops. Drop the switch. I think it rolled somewhere underneath. I'm fine without it. I'll just get it later.
pretty quick once the stabs are done, especially with the switches already pre-lubed and stuff. So we can probably go ahead and put it together.
Right now, Comfort, Philco, or Profit? Oh, Profit's a great Comfort board.
Yes, I would say
my Profit was actually up there in that Comfort zone for a good while.
Yeah. Profit's a good one. That's a great pick.
Michelin 910 ME. Ooh,
That's a good choice. Okay.
Alright, so let's try our silicone gel mount, because these are fairly simple to place on. So these just go straight onto the plate like this. So just go onto the little tabs over here. Jane mount TKL, that's the Comfort, I assume. And your Michelin is one of your many cool boards, cool guy boards. Sunny. JML TKL is definitely comfy. I actually really like the O-ring style of those too, like the JV2C type of deal. Okay. My comfort board is my Mode Encore 1. Ooh. That's a cool choice.
The Encore, I think, is very, very cool board.
The Encore. Oh, that was a cool design. For sure. Okay. All right. Michelin, Andromeda, and Geist Comfort Jane. Ooh, some pricey comforts and Michelins. Solid picks though. Either way. Actually, I wonder how let's see how this wireless works out. Let's try that. Does that work when I plug it in? Oh, it does. Wow. Very nice. That works. Okay, very cool. It like detected it and connected. That's nifty. So that means I could connect it to like a hub somewhere and like that'll work. How's my favorite New York City man tonight? I'm doing all right. How are you? It's good to see you. We've been enjoying the weekend. I've had a lot of work this week. Just have this big report I need to give next week, and so I've been somewhat swamped doing data analysis and just work, you know. So I've been busy, but doing okay. Just handling that, like deadline stuff at the same time, and we've been just playing games, watching What We Do in the Shadows. We're like in the middle of season 3 now. And earlier we just went to like a coffee shop and had some Italian food for dinner. That was pretty good. We went to basically a pasta place. I got what did I get? I got a pappardelle with what is that? Wild boar ragu. It was very good. It's very yummy. Very yummy. Holy Light Show. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Where's that manual that I had from the piece? Let's see. What's disconnecting constantly? Hold on. Oh, it's this cable. This cable is sensitive to little kinks. Okay, there. A Meletrix board IC, does it have 20 different mounting styles? Only two. Only two. Let's see. How do I turn off the top RGB for now? Personally, don't really care for it, so FN, whichever is FN. RGB, lighting control, backlight on off. Always which one's FN? Let's see. It's got to be one of these. I think it might be this one. There we go. Why do we need a whole spec sheet? Oh, this is just it's like a shortcut list. It's in Chinese and in English. CVS receipt. Nice. And the knob does work. I can actually reduce volume and raise volume with that. No press. It's just only left or right knob. So I knew that I was gonna get this color because I was told when I was sent the package. So I pre-picked a key set that I wanted to put on this that I think has 2U right shift or left shift, sorry. So I brought GMK Shinseiki, which in my opinion is the better it's the better whatchamacallit, the better Evangelion themed key set out there. So we're gonna try this. GMK Terra would work too, yeah, but I think this one works nicely. So let's try this. Let's try it and see how it goes. There's all these extra keys here. Okay, so let's see. And it gives some contrast because the mods are darker than the regular purple here, so I think it'll look good. Let's try and see how it goes first. Gonna have to find those not sure how I'm gonna do these right side mods yet. I mean, I need to look up a picture actually. ASDFGH. Oh, shifted it one over. Interesting layout. What is this, a 60? Yeah, it's like, it's called a 64 key layout. Basically, it's a variation on a standard 60%. Essentially, it was made to accommodate extra keys on the right side, which you can either interpret as a dedicated arrow cluster on a 60%, or you can interpret it as extra keys for, you know, whatever functionality it was initially made. I would say like it was more popular in the Chinese keyboard community because it provided access to more things for their typing of Chinese. I mean, assuming that you're not just doing like pinyin, but yeah, it basically is a extra 2 keys that you get from shortening this left shift over here. This left shift becomes a 2U left shift instead of a 2.25U, and then so you get extra 2 keys from doing 1Us here and doing all 1Us here as well, basically. 2 or 3 keys, I guess, depending on what you consider standard. That's sort of the gist of it. So if shift the bottom row over a little bit to the left, yes, that's correct. That is exactly right. You'll see once I put all the keys together. So like you can do an arrow cluster if you want, or you can do something different. I think I'll just do the arrow cluster as like they would do it on their like renders and stuff. So it kind of gives you this weird all 1U sort of thing. So let me just do that and show you. So let's see. So you can put like an FN key here, right? And then looks like I'll need a 625U. That's a 6U. 625? And then, let's see here. Oh, let's look at those novelties. I actually don't know what novelties I got over here. That might throw me off. Oh, for sure. I mean, it'll throw me off 100%. But, you know, we're just trying new stuff out because that's what they sent over, right? Huh. Okay. Interesting. These are shifts, right? Can try novelty enter. Looks like we can't use a novelty left shift, but I can do some 1Us, I think. That's an R3. These eyes probably don't fit unless I pair them, so probably ignore those. These I can ignore as well. And I think the 1Us I'll forgo because I also have some oh, these are all 1Us actually. Okay, maybe I'll do this one for the layer key, and maybe I'll stack some of the novelties on this side, I guess, because otherwise these will not look too good. I think this one's fine. I'm just surprised it doesn't have a tourbillon without clock hands. Yes. You're still like extra traumatized from the Nama. Love it. Is this to you?
No, that's 225. Let's see. Do I have a 2U shift? Is the real question. I thought I did. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. That would be tragic. Maybe I just use something else for the 2U. I might actually not have a 2U though, right? I thought I did, but maybe I miscalculated it and it was a 225. That's okay. We'll figure it out. There are some 2U keys that are not matched to the color though. So
30 months. Hey, Lamp, thank you. And also, good night, dude.
You must be struggle bussin'. So you should go to sleep.
Love you too, though. Take it easy, dude.
Take it easy. I thought, okay, so this is a 225. Of course, this Nephilock, kidding. He wouldn't put a 2U. I don't think. It'll be very much superfluous. Very much superfluous. Oh, too bad. Okay, that's fine. The rest of the keys, it looks great though. So, 2U, do I use a 0 key? Or do I use a space bar? Wait, is that 2U? I think that's 2U. Yeah, that's wait. Yeah, that's 2U. Okay. Yeah. You can do the 0 key. Yeah. Actually, that kind of works. For now. GG indeed, though. It's okay. I thought I had more options, but I guess I don't. And I don't have a 1U shift, but I can probably use like an alt or a control type of deal. Or maybe even a system key here, actually. That works. I think that's probably more agnostic. This board is wacky. Deserves a 0 numpad key. Yeah. I don't have many boards with many key sets that would have that 2U key. It's such an uncommon choice. I figured they wouldn't have it though. But I can't not use this key set when it looks so good otherwise. You know?
It looks so nice. Catwood, hello. Thanks, Diego, for turning on the closed captions. Not many content creators remember to do that. I appreciate your thoughtfulness towards all. Oh, well, you know, I'm thankful that you guys are here, and I'm glad that it's helpful. I mean, I've had it on for quite some time now. I've always so it's funny, but whenever I also watch like television or other things, I enjoy subtitles in in English, because a lot of times I just miss what people say, and so I kind of just feel like it would be a nice default for everything as well. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw the option, I was like, of course I'm gonna put it on. I see no reason not to. You can disable them if you don't like them, so like, it's literally an optional thing. And I think it should just be on by default anyway, but I don't know why Twitch wouldn't integrate that. But don't ask me. Alright, let's put an Eva themed key here. I have either a Sodi cap or an Aussie keycap. I think I can put on this, or a Bogan. Bogan also works. Has the green. I feel like Aussies works slightly better, so maybe I'll do that. The Pato. Ooh. Oh, pressed really hard on that. Whoopsie. All right. All right. Ooh, wacky. Okay, look at that. Looks pretty good though. Looks nice. Is this an HE board? No, it's not. It's an MX board for this one. But there is an HE option available. So we can actually take a quick look at the website for this. What was the? It's in my build command, right? Yeah. So, you know, there is there's like this web page for it, but you know, you can see sort of some examples, right? So they do a 2U shift, and then there's the arrow keys and some extra stuff on the right side. And you know, there's all these different colorways, right? They have a ton of pictures and sort of explain their concept. It's a little tough to read because I guess it's like translated. They have this exploded view of the board. I'll like zoom in a little bit. They have this exploded exploded view of the board for the kit and the different parts, which we kind of went through. And yeah, they do have Flux. They have the Flux 60HE module, which has Hall effect, which will be released from Wuche Studio pretty soon, they say. And I'm assuming they will be compatible with some, they say, some GH60 PCBs. So some options for PCBs out there that would support that. But yeah, there will be some options for Hall effect for those people who want like a gamery keyboard as well. But yeah, they basically kind of go through the whole details. They talk about the underglow, the part keys, switch lighting, the side profile, and kind of like low front height. They basically put a little cherry style lip, which I'll show you guys later on. And looks like front height here is 18.5, 6.5 degree typing angle. And then they just talk about more about features. And let's see what else they have. Silicone gaskets and O-ring mount for options, and these are all the color options that they got, which is gold, coral, white, silver, gray, another gray, pink, teal, violet, which is the one that we have today, lilac, arctic blue, ink, which is I think essentially black, and cloud mist blue, which I think is like a baby blue, or maybe like a even lighter blue. Actually no, this one's baby blue, I think. Arctic blue or cloud mist blue is more like baby blue. Arctic blue might be more like a pastel-y blue. But yeah. And then they have acrylic versions of the board with laser engravings and such. There's like another 7 options on there. So yeah. It's quite a lot of options, and I believe pricing starts at, okay, these are all renders for the board. Believe the, okay, I'm gonna keep oh my god, this page is huge. Okay, I'm gonna keep scrolling all the way down. Do they have pricing on this? I believe it starts at 115 US dollars. They started GB on February 3rd. Price info, it doesn't say here, but I believe I was told it starts at 115 US. So pretty competitive pricing for the folks who want it. Yeah. All right, so let's try this out. All right. Nice L shift too. Thank you. Don't have a 2U L shift, but the key set looks good, so better to just put a numpad key than forgo using the actual key set, I think. All right.
So there is our board. Not quite visible with the underglow here from this side, but anyway. All right, let's try this out. So this one's connected wirelessly. There's a little dongle over here that's connected to it. That's a little light over there. And so that's what's connected to it. And so this is typing wireless USB. All right, let's try it out. All right, so we have Wutri Studio BigLucky linear switches on this. These are currently built on a carbon fiber full plate. We actually have no foam on the build. And this is GMK Shinseiki, which ran through Novel Keys fairly recently, like last year, I think. And this is the Zoom64. So let's try it out. All right, here we go. I think we're good on audio and everything. Okay. All right, let's go. So there we have it. 123, pretty low. I think I usually can type a little faster than that, but made a lot of mistakes. So, all right. So let's go through the mods. So there's how it sounds. The alphas do sound like that wind-up teeth toy. Oh, interesting. That desk be rumbling? Yeah, it's my mic mount probably. You know, it would help if I had some separate bump-ons from this, but it's probably because we're using the stock bump-ons on this have a like this sort of you know, the ones that stick very close to the desk mat, so make a lot of contact with the desk. The bottom row of alphas throw you off at all? Not that much, to be honest, Ness. I think what throws me off is if I were to use the right shift here, that would throw me off, because I would probably press like right in between here, which ends up being like these two keys. So this would throw me off right here if you use the right shift. So I would have to rely on using the left shift for shift based shortcuts. So until then, I think it's fine, but there would be some things that would throw me off from using the right shift. Arrow keys would be fine, because I would probably use arrow keys from using the FN key and doing like HKB style arrows like this, but that's because I'm used to that for 60%. But
But yeah, I would probably not want to use these dedicated arrows personally. I would maybe like map to something else. So yeah, but yeah, in regular typing, the alphas are actually okay. It's really not that bad. Yeah, a lot of people don't use either one of the shifts as much. I think typically a lot of people don't use the right shift or as much nearly, but I do use both. So in some cases it'll definitely throw me off for that. So yeah, so that's the Zoom64. So you can take a look. So this has a knob, goes left and right basically. Nothing special outside of that. It just goes left and right, increases volume or lowers volume, right? And then it has two mounting styles. It does have an O-ring mount. Where is it? It has this O-ring mount. It kind of uses these tabs, and then there's a little O-ring that goes around each of the tabs on the PCB, which can also be used. We currently have it on the silica gel mount that they call it. But this same mounting is available on some of their other boards from the Zoom line, if I recall correctly. But as far as I recall, I remember these O-ring mounts not being as palatable to me as the silica gel mount from their other lines. So I opted for using the silicone gel, but we can try this if you really want. It's pretty easy to assemble. So anyway, that's what the board looks like. It has some underglow here at the bottom, so this underglow kind of goes all the way around. So obviously it's there you go. So you can kind of see it better, but there is underglow, like a ring of LEDs that goes all the way around. Obviously not quite noticeable when you just put it on your desk. It's not really noticeable at all. So there's that. But yeah. So that's the vision over here. I'll show the overhead here. So there's the top view. Again, this should be a left shift, but we don't have a 2U shift for that, so just use the 0 key. But Shinseiki looks great on this particular board, like color. And then they have that cherry style lip. So if you look at the side profile here, you can see there is a cherry style lip, maybe a bit more inclined than you would see like on a cherry board, but it's there. It genuinely has a pretty nice side profile, like a nice side profile that has like a subtle curvature, and this sort of like nice taper is pretty well done in my opinion. So like in terms of like what the board actually looks like, it does look pretty good, frankly. So yeah. There's a back. There's a little accent here for the knob area. There's our USB port right there. And then yeah. So in terms of the design, I think it's pretty nice. Oh, it's pretty convenient also. It has it has the ball catch system for it. So you can just disassemble it like that. Nice and simple. I like the bottom of the board, otherwise it seems like the sound profile isn't for me. If you have time, I'd like to hear the other mounting style. Yeah, of course, we could try that. Let's see here. So for that, actually, I think I can leave this and see if I can just put this on. Let's see if I can. Screwdriver.
Shinseiki is really perfect for this board though. Yeah, I think for this particular color, it looks fantastic. It looks so good. Did they send you the cable for the GH60 compat? No, I did not get that. So unfortunately not. I only have the base, like the base bare bones type of kit, I guess. Yeah, I do not have the GH60 add-on stuff. No worries. Was wondering what they're doing for that since I see a ribbon cable. Yeah, so ribbon cable. Yeah, so there is one for the PCB, and then this one goes to the battery. This one goes to the knob over here, and it's all connected with a relay board here that is connected to an underglow LED circuit, and then the USB and the battery and the knob. Basically, there's like 4 boards with a relay. Then we have these O-rings that just kind of go around these tabs on the PCB. That should be it. What's the key shortcut for wireless mode? Never remember these. FN plus, that's Bluetooth 2.4, FN plus B. Is that right? Long press, okay. Is that right? Not sure if that's right. I'm not sure if that's. Let me just plug it directly. See if it works. There we go. Okay. All right, let's try this out, folks. Okay. All right, so let's try this. Okay, so let's try this out. So now we have the O-ring mount, I guess. The split O-ring mount is what they call it. And this one is basically on the PCB. And have these little silicone O-rings going around the PCB tabs and then held by these little tabs installed in the case. All right, let's try it out. So there it is. That's the O-ring mount. It sounds kind of similar. I'm actually like a little bit less of a fan of it than the silicone gel mount because I do feel like it gives it a good amount of bounciness that personally is undesirable. So you can kind of see it here, but it almost feels like it's gonna bottom out. In fact, the silicone gel mount actually feels a bit sturdier than this one. So the O-ring mount feels a little too forgiving for even a stiffer plate. This will have quite a lot of give. You can see the whole translation on the assembly, and especially like at the edges, it feels too soft for me. So for that reason, I prefer the other mount, which uses little gaskets on the plate instead. Okay, I can go through the mods. Like this part here, I'm pretty sure this is almost basically bottoming out. Like, it's so, like, these corners don't feel very supported. I think it's even more problematic on this particular corner here, because if you guys remember, the knob is installed right here on the case, right? So the daughter board is installed in the bottom case here. There's a little daughter board that receives the pogo pins from the knob area. So that means this whole area is not available for the mounting. So the mounting starts here, and then like maybe here, here, and here. So this whole right corner suffers from not having a mounting point. Whereas from the PCB, because it's on the bottom case, it mounts to the bottom case essentially. But, or it's like being held by those tabs on the bottom case. But on the silicone gel mount, because it's relying on the plate a little higher, it doesn't suffer from that problem as much, and also it's like a smaller footprint, so you can like kind of fit it here, like right in between. But yeah, I think this right corner right now is a weak spot of that particular mounting style.
definitely like feels like it's bottoming out. Yeah. So yeah, it's a little too giving. Obviously you can use foam to basically make it stiffer on the underside, but personally I say it's not quite as advisable in my opinion. So like just to use that as a crutch to prevent the bottoming out, you know. So for that, but yeah, so that's kind of like the gist of how these mounting methods compare. So yeah, so that's the Zoom64. I think I like it the other way around, so we can kind of, you know, talk about it a little bit. Over here, I'm gonna put the music back on, but let's see. So I'm gonna see if I can like. It's so hard to like take these out without like, there we go. Okay, there. So this is what I'm talking about, right? See, daughter board right here, and then you have O-ring, 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 O-ring. So top left corner and top right corner unavailable for the mounting. And oddly enough, they did the same thing here. But if you look at the mounting positions for the other guys, the little silicone gels, you can actually get the corners mounted because it mounts right here and right here. And then here, 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 and then here, 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 and here. So it's a little bit more stable with the silicone gel mount overall. So it feels sturdier, and it honestly, to me, the split O-ring mount is not quite as a viable mounting if you're not using foam or something to support it from the bottom. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. On the other boards, on like I remember on I think it was a TKL, I don't remember if it was a 75 or a TKL, it was one of them that had it too. It also felt like in the split O-ring mount, they also seemed to have some issues with spacing them apart correctly, or like in a way that felt still stable while having that amount of translation that they have to it, because it's a fairly soft O-ring. This O-ring is super soft, so it has a lot of give. There's a lot of bounciness to it, so you can expect a lot of movement, but it's important to have proper support from the rest of the case. But I don't really think this accomplishes that because it becomes unavailable from these two portions. Like, I imagine this portion is going to be occupied when they start doing the GH60 compatibility stuff, and this part is unavailable because of the knob. So, could you dual mount on the corners? Yes, you could. So that's one thing I was going to say was, well, if you feel like it's not working for you, in this particular case, you could just use these guys as supports to help support the corners. But I do, I guess, we could try that. So we can do all 4 corners. So we can do dual mount these guys and then just the corners, right? So the bottom. So let's now the tricky part is making sure these fit. The easiest way is to use a spudger here. And then just shift it. All right, so, oops, focus, hello, camera, hi. Decided not to focus on, I don't know why I did that. Probably was focusing on the mic arm or something. But yeah, this time I now support it from the corners and just close it. Right. So now, let's go back to the side cam. So now here, you get much better support. It feels much sturdier, but I feel like even just from getting the support from the corners, now you actually don't get much of the O-ring mount anymore. It actually loses touch with the O-ring mount. The supports of the plate are doing all the work. So all that extra bounciness you got from the O-ring is gone. so I don't think it's viable in terms of mixing the two, but not quite for everything. It looks like we're hitting ads. Okay. All right, I think we're back from ads. Okay, we're back. So, as I was saying, right? So now you get a good amount of support on these four corners, but all that movement that you were seeing earlier from the split O-ring mount is gone. So that's the real drawback of using the silicone gel mount along with the split O-ring, is that now the split O-ring is not doing much. The corners are supporting all that pressing weight here. So it's an implementation thing. I do think the silicone gel mount has it really is the dominant, or like the mounting that they designed this to be, for sure. That's kind of how I feel about this board. Is if they had just said, oh, we only have one mounting method, and it will be the silicone gel mount, that's totally believable, because it types pretty nicely with that. But I think the split O-ring needs some work in terms of positioning the tabs and making it work there. The real solution to this, a flex cut PCB, oh please. Or I mean, silicone gel mount and like I don't know, could they do like a, well, I guess it would change it if you do like a, you can't really quite do top mount because you're having the ball cache system too, right? So it changes everything. So for what they're going for, I think the silicone gel mount, like, you know, that kind of gasket mount is fine. Maybe having variances of that, like whether it's different, it's like softer mounting pins, things like that could be useful. So, but yeah, it's I think it's a nice board for the folks who are looking for this particular layout. I mean, it starts at a very competitive price, in my opinion. So, you know, if you are 100% looking for this particular layout, I think this is a very strong, you know, strong candidate out there. But that's it. I would say I would recommend this mounting method, the silicone gel mount, and in terms of like the rest, frankly, I had a good time building it. Like, it was pretty simple to build. The knob is not very intrusive. The pogo pins line up pretty nicely, no issues with that. And the build process was like as simple as it could be, really. So no issues otherwise. I will give them the feedback about the plate cutouts to fix for production. I think that's kind of important, so they don't have plate cutouts that are not matched up properly. For their stabilizer cutouts, I think that's something that they need to just make sure that it's checked for production for all of their materials. And I think that's about it for me for feedback. A raw board susceptible to damage. Anyone have raw boards? I don't have any. Well, I have one, but I would say no, they're not that susceptible to damage. They are prone to some scratches. They are prone to like wear, for sure. Like, you'll get like also like patina from like touching it. Finger oils, like any crud that gets on there will stick. But I mean, unless you're like really exposing them to all the elements, they won't tarnish as quickly as you might think. But I mean, they do eventually. Like, you eventually will have a very dirty looking board sort of thing, and it will vary in texture and color and that kind of stuff. It won't be very even. So I think it's important to be careful regardless, but I do tend to think that people think it's gonna be like super soft and very delicate, but you know, I think if you're being reasonably cautious, it's probably okay. Let it sit in the sun for a month for a cool oxidized surface. Yeah, definitely scratch them with tree branches. Oh, when taking pictures. Oh, I see. That makes sense. Jetabuds, thank you for coming by. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Probably wrap it up here, and let's see if do we have any folks streaming tonight? I actually don't know. Oh, Patty is streaming. Patty is currently doing a Tofu 65 V3. I still haven't built my or I just got the KBD fans packages, so I will probably be doing those soon enough. So for me, schedule wise, I might have a little switcheroo in my schedule, but this coming week I think I'm planning on doing the Synthesis from Merici and the Kafka from Typeface, and then I'll do the KBD fans tofu boards afterwards, so expect those to come pretty soon. Can you rate X Pika J? Yeah, sure. X Pika J. I need to find them. X Pika J. Oh, I see them. I see them. New keyboard build. Oh, cool. Yeah, sure. Why not? They've been doing this for a bit, so they might be able to rate Patty right afterwards. Pika J with double Y. Okay. All right, folks. I'll wrap it up here. Thank you again for coming by. This was the Zoom64. If hopefully you enjoyed it, I think I did. I think it's a pretty nice board for what it proposes it to be, for pretty cheap, $115 starting price. So competitive entry to the market. All right, folks. I hope you guys had a good time, and I will see you guys middle of this week, most likely. I hope you guys have a good long weekend if you're out. And yeah, I might see you guys either. I might actually stream on Monday. I know it's a holiday for a lot of folks, but for some people it isn't. But I think Monday I might maybe plan to stream, so I'll probably see you guys then. But I need to talk to Mr. Morning Coffee, Mary C, about the schedule. So once I confirm, it'll be good. Okay, folks. I'll see you guys all later. Take care. Have a good time at Pika J stream, and have a good weekend. Bye bye.